Be me. Useless, cowardly twat. 27. Still in college. Hire tutors. Don't even study the assigned stuff. Get a warning last Friday that, based on a new law, I have only 1 year left and 4 exam periods to graduate. Otherwise, I'll be deleted from the university. I expected that to last until 2027, meanwhile. I have 25 classes left, all math and physics related. Also, have to go to the army for the mandatory service. And it's in March. Catastrophe.png. Get anxious. Start crying. Spend the whole weekend crying. Not even trying to pass the 2 classes left this exam period. Called the army and the college yesterday morning. Turns out, I've been assigned to the Air Force, which means I have to show up in May. And, with some papers, I can extend that to November, meaning I can give all my exams consecutively. Try my hardest to study. I haven't actually sat down to do it for close to 5 years, beyond flipping through some papers half an hour before midnight on the last day. And also doing some classes with my tutors where I literally copy the thing from the book to barely move the curriculum. Managed to study about 2 hours. Can't sleep in general because I'm anxious and obese. A combination of utter hopelessness and some newfound chance this Monday made me lose 3 kilograms. And today, I dropped under 100. At 2:42 a.m., I get an unknown call. I'm too tired. I go back to sleep. Get up in the morning to study some basics before leaving. Get curious. Turn to Chapter 2, Page 4, Exercise 2. It's an SOS exercise. Turn to page 242 of the book. It's another SOS exercise. I learn them by heart. Go to the exam. They're not the exact exercises, but 2 of them are very close, and I use them as a basis to solve them. Not sure if I passed, but if I had studied even just 2 hours more the last few days, I would have passed. I'm officially weirded out, creeped out, and also feeling special at this moment. Did God or the universe literally just give me a sign? Magic and the metaphysical are all true? This is too much. I need to tell the world. I've seen many instances of people saying, "Thought I was out for 20 minutes and it turned out to be 4 hours." Nothing crazy, but I had something similar like that happen to me. Be me. Like 7 or something. At friend's house playing hide and seek. It's my turn to hide and I'm fucking determined to win. Friend starts counting. I run down to the basement. No 3 spooky 5 me's about the basement. Lights were on, and it was pretty much just a lounge. Hide under this 1-seater couch. Hide for a good 10 to 15 minutes. May even have been shorter since, come to think of it, as a kid, I didn't have the patience to hide prone under a couch for that long. Felt like 5 minutes to me. Hear parents come down occasionally and go back up, saying my name. Decide my friend is cheating and is cruelly weaponizing my own parents against me in order to win. All is fair in love and war, but you won't trick me. I won't come out. Later on, I get bored thinking he gave up. Get out of the couch and proudly tell my mother, I won. "Oh my God, where were you, Anon? We were looking for you for hours." Friend is sitting there, looking concerned. After writing the screen text, I went to ask my mom about the finer details of the story, and she urges me that it never happened, even though I remember it as clear as day. Apparently, though, me asking her this sparked her memory of an even weirder circumstance from when I was 2 years old. Nothing that serves as X-fuel, but still kind of scary. Be my mother. Just flew into Yankee Land. Taking English classes. Need somewhere to keep my 2-year-old son. Me, while I go learn English. Complained to neighbor that I don't know what to do about my son. Neighbor says, "Oh, we have a babysitter in the building. She charges to look after your kids for a while." Fuck no, that JPEG. Reply that I don't trust random strangers, even if they worked in a daycare building. Why would I trust this one working out of her own apartment? No, don't worry, she's very trusted here, blah 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 blah. Get convinced that she's alright, especially considering I have no other option. Hand child off to her on the day of. Go to classes and come back. Time to pick my son up. Go knock on the apartment door. No answer. Knock again. No reply whatsoever. This continues until I lose my mind. Call babysitter relentlessly to no avail. Pounding on the door and pacing back up to my apartment and down again, wondering what to do. Head back up to my apartment when I receive a call from the babysitter's husband who says, "Hey there, babysitter went to a doctor's appointment. She's back now." What the fuck? Go back down and knock on the door. She opens the door and I see my son, in his undershirt, completely wet. I gave him to her in normal clothing. Ask what the fuck just happened. She responds in a frenzied panic. "I went to a doctor's appointment. I'm so sorry. He was playing in the bathroom and got wet and he pissed himself." My face when I potty trained my son a long time ago. He doesn't just piss himself like that. My face when it's impossible for my son to get wet from any of the sinks or tubs, because he's not tall enough to climb into the tub or reach the sink. What the fuck was this woman doing to my son? And why would the husband call my mother if she was back from the appointment? Couldn't she have just done it herself? Did she really get in her apartment while my mom was upstairs just so briefly? There's not much to this story, but I share it with everyone. And I'm a believer in the paranormal, so I thought I might as well share this here. 2013, my grandma passed away. I was about 3 or 4 years old. About 2 weeks after she died, I wake up in my room, and it's unusually cold. Extremely cold. And I feel as though I'm being watched. The door to my room is open, which kind of freaks me out because my mom always closes it when it's bedtime. Anyways, being the little scared I am, I go to my mom's room, which is the living room. I lived in one of those Eastern European flats back then for anyone who cares, and I ask if I can sleep with her. This was a common occurrence, by the way. Anyways, I feel safe now because I'm with my mom, so I fall asleep. I wake up later in the night, and I swear, I see my dead grandma levitate out of my room and down the corridor, out of sight. She had this green aura around her, and she was see-through. Her face was emotionless and blank, exactly how it was before the coffin was closed, but her eyes were wide open. For some reason, though, this didn't scare me. In fact, I didn't exactly feel anything. I didn't know how to feel, I guess. After I saw her, I don't remember what happened. I just remember waking up the next day. Yes, I was only 3, so maybe I imagined it. Maybe I dreamt it. But I still remember it after all this time. Even if it was a dream, I believe the dead can visit you in them. But then again, I do believe in this stuff. To start, I'm a firm believer in UFOs and aliens, and I've believed in them forever. My interest in them really started in elementary school. I was, and still am, a huge nerd for everything space-related, and at the time, being a little kid and learning that there are living things outside in the space was the coolest thing ever. Fast forward to the summer of 2022. I'm at a fireworks show for 4th of July, and I'm sitting on top of a hill at a park with my mom and sister, when I notice a bright red light hanging in the sky. It was a distance from where I was looking at, and in front of the clouds, in the back... What? It was a distance from where I looking at and in front of clouds in the background of the sky. Sure. Keep in mind that it was dusk and already sort of dark. Because of that, the shape of the craft was hidden, but the red lights placed on the craft wrapped around all of it, but a space was left in the middle. Suddenly, the craft creeped closer to the park, and it looked like it was almost interested in the fireworks show. The way the UFO flew was also very interesting. It flew like there was no wind, and flew, well, incredibly smoothly. At this point, multiple people in front of us noticed the light, but quickly forgot about it. I myself got really excited about this supposed UFO, and my mom started to take a video of it, which she still has. The UFO dropped a little in attitude. I think they mean altitude, and swinged a couple of degrees to its left, and started to move again and stopped. It stayed there for maybe 1 to 2 minutes and started to move again, but this time, quicker than before. I wasn't too scared, but more extremely interested than anything else. I stood up and crossed the street next to us since I thought it was going to fly over the neighborhood near the park. What I didn't know was that the UFO kept flying and stopped once more, and at this time, the UFO turned white with its lights and shot up into the sky like a hypersonic rocket. This was told to me by my mom, who captured everything that night. When I was younger, I had a summer job working at a movie theater. It was a newer one, with several theaters, so not the kind of place you would expect to be haunted. One day before opening, I was going through each theater to make sure everything was in order, when I heard a psst noise come from behind the screen. Now, I don't particularly believe in ghosts, so I assumed it was a coworker playing a prank on me. I walked over and peeked behind the screen and I found nothing. Not even something that I could have mistaken the noise for. It's just an empty space behind the screen. I left that auditorium a little unnerved, but I chalked it up to me hearing things. Afterwards, I went up to one of my coworkers who had been there the longest and jokingly said, "Hey, I just heard a ghost in Auditorium 8. While my face went completely white when he matter-of-factly said, "Yep, Auditorium 8's haunted." I called his bluff, but several other coworkers backed him up. They said that sometimes the lights would flicker on and off and even blink in response to yes or no questions. I tried several times to get a response, to no avail, and had no other experiences during my time there. However, a little part of me can't shake how genuinely creeped out I was when I heard that noise. So, this was 4th of July a few years ago. My family and I were over at someone's house where I was friends with the son, and my parents were friends with his parents. Additionally, my sister was there, but seeing as nobody else her age was around, she decided to tag along with my friend and me. Anyways, eventually we start to get bored, so we head downstairs to find his iPad and watch YouTube. We go into the kitchen, he asks his dad where it is, and his dad says it's in the parents' bedroom. Now, this bedroom is right next to the stairs that you take from the ground level to the second floor, so my sister and I follow my friend to the intersection of the door to the bedroom and the stairs going up. However, instead of going through the door, or even opening the door for that matter, my friend turns right and goes upstairs. Me and my sister, not exactly processing what's happening, just follow him. No words exchanged. Pretty quickly, though, he gets to the top of the stairs, and as he's a good few steps ahead of us, he turns the corner into the upstairs hallway. Not even a second later, we get up, and he's nowhere to be seen. All the doors are closed as well. So, not knowing where he went, we go to his room at the end of the hallway and sit down on his bed, which looks down the hallway. Then, not even 10 seconds later, we hear footsteps coming up the stairs, and rounding the corner at the top is my friend, who we had just seen ahead of us. Immediately, my sister and I both shoot each other the biggest what the fuck looks, while my friend came to us and asked if we were okay. We ended up not watching YouTube. I've tried talking about it with him a few times since then, but he didn't see anything, since he was ahead of us the entire time. All he knows is that he went into his parents' bedroom, grabbed the iPad, thinking that we were just going upstairs to wait for him. My sister also vividly remembers it, but she swears he told us he had taken a secondary entrance into the bedroom instead of the one by the stairs. My friend doesn't remember which entrance he used. I think it's worth noting that my friend hadn't been out of our sight for a couple of minutes, until he rounded the corner at the top of the stairs, and we had also just talked to him seconds prior. What freaks me out the most, though, was we only saw him going upstairs, meaning that not only did we see a fake him, but for a moment, the real him was, for a lack of a better term, invisible. I've posted about this on here several times, but no one seems to give a shit about some dude that's seen a couple weird things in the mountains and can't prove a thing. I do a hell of a lot of hiking and camping up in the Alberta Rockies, specifically around Upper Kananaskis Lake and the Ghost Public Land Use Zone. Up at Three Isle Lake, I once saw with my brother and a friend what is sometimes called a jumper. We're coming down after having breakfast and packing up our camp, and this guy in a blue jacket comes sprinting past us. We thought nothing of it since plenty of people run the trails instead of camping like us. As we come around a bend, we get a straight view down the path to the cliff. There's this one really tall cliff that we have to scramble up, with a steep and tightly switchbacking trail to get up and down. It's as steep as a trail is allowed to get before requiring climbing gear, and this guy sprints right the fuck off the cliff edge, and he keeps making running motions as he's falling like it's nothing. We searched for over an hour and found absolutely no sign of a body, from the top or bottom of the cliff. When we reported it to the park rangers on the way home, they seemed spook as hell, but they didn't do anything, or even seem concerned with going up there to look. I have since found out that these jumpers are weird apparition things that are actually fairly common. There's plenty of reports of them in the Canadian and US Rockies and other mountain ranges. You see some guy climbing a cliff face in a distance, or hiking a separate ridge, or passing you on the trail without you noticing many details. And then they just casually hurl themselves off the cliff, sometimes contorting bizarrely or giving you some weird sign first. There will be reports of the same jumper on the same or very close cliffs, throwing themselves off over and over again, spanning years and decades. And park guys learn which jump reports to ignore fairly quickly. I've also been called to in the forest. Up in the Ghost, my second or third time up there, my brother and I were camping in the back of my dad's truck, waiting for the rain to pass, or for it to at least get dark enough to sleep. Through the wind and rain, we start to hear a weird noise that sounds like a woman screaming. We look at each other like, what the fuck, and listen closer, and we realize that she's screaming a name. The fuck thing is, when we talk to each other, we realized we each hear her screaming our own names. He heard his, and I heard mine, both at the same time. And beyond that, no one was supposed to be up there that knew us. We stayed awake till the rain stopped, and the screaming died out at the same time, as I cradled my shotgun. We didn't sleep much at all that night, and we noped the fuck out of there early the next morning. I've been told it was probably a fox or a cougar, but trust me, I know what both of those sound like, and they don't fucking scream names. The Ghost itself is kind of a fucked area in itself. The Ghost Valley, or the Devil's Gap Valley, as it's sometimes known, is a weird place with a bunch of spiritual significance to the nearby Stoney Nakoda people. It's named after one of the mountains in there, the Devil's Head. The story goes that, because it's shaped so weirdly, the Stoney people said that it was where the spirits cross over and try to collect their own. It's a weird-looking mountain that, about halfway up, turns into a vertical column, ending in a nearly flat top. There's other similarly shaped mountains elsewhere in the North American Rockies with similar reputations, such as the Devil's Tower in Wyoming. It's also really good hunting territory, and a natural gateway up into the Rockies. So, the Stoney and many other tribes have fought over it many times. On the right kind of night, you can see spirits climb down off the cliffs and pick over the stones of the riverbed, looking for the bones of fallen warriors. I've never been out there on the right kind of night, so I can neither confirm nor deny this. However, basically, anytime I've been up there, everything I did felt a little off. There's this sense you're being watched a lot of the time, and other times it's more like something wants to hurt you, or if you do something, no matter how carefully, worst case scenario is going to happen, and you are going to hurt yourself doing it. It's a weird sensation. I also saw a weird-ass disappearing tree up there in the dead zone. So, I was hiking this random little trail in the Ghost. There's thousands and thousands up there with no markings or planning, and I came up to a clearing. Another one of those weird things people see pretty often fucking about in the woods is when everything suddenly, or gradually, goes dead quiet. I notice everything is silent, and as I look around, the light has a weird quality to it. I remember the rocks and trees and shape of the clearing well. In the middle of the clearing is this squat tree. Super huge around, but looks like it was broken off only 10 feet up or so. No sign of where the top went. It's got all these gnarled branches all the way up, which is weird because conifers typically lose their lower branches in this area because there's no light lower down once they get tall. The bark was sort of healthy-ish. Again, weird because the rest of it looks dead, and it has no needles to speak of. I take all of this in, and then I back the fuck out of the area at a controlled pace because you don't want to stick around when you wander into one of these silent spots. As I back out and get around a couple turns, the light goes back to normal, and I start to hear birds and bugs again. I ended up finding a different fork and followed it around for a while before going back to my campsite. I returned a couple weeks later to the same campsite with a buddy of mine, and after doing some shooting, we decided to take a hike. I asked my buddy if he wanted to see something weird. He said hell yeah, so I tried going back. I took the same trail and tried to find the same weird tree. Well, I found the clearing after a while. Same shape, same rocks, same trees. But the weird tree in the middle was gone. No sign that it was ever there. No weird silence or light either. Just a normal clearing. I know it was the right trail and the right clearing, but the tree wasn't there. I guess it's not that interesting or spooky, but it was more than a little disturbing. We just ended up going back to shooting after a while. Be sometime in the mid-90s. My great-uncle Chris and Uncle Joey, fake names, were working somewhere in upstate New York at a warehouse, near the top of a hill in a deeply wooded area. They were working security. Both started work around 7 p.m. and got off at 3 a.m. Shift ends, and they pile into Chris's car. They started making their way down the hill. The road was near pitch black as there were no streetlights. And suddenly, Chris saw what sounds to me like one of those black stickmen based on its description. He said it was pretty tall as well. It was a little ways ahead of the car. Joey then saw it too and froze up. Continuing forward, baffled at what they were seeing, it then ran out into the road in front of the car. At that point, Chris says he had no time to brake, so he was sure he was going to hit it. But when they should have come into contact with it, there was no impact. Chris and Joey both say that these next two things happened at once. The stickman phased through the car like it had no physical form, and the car turned completely off like the battery died. The car's interior suddenly became super cold, but after the stickman phased through the car, it disappeared, as if it was never there. Chris then, after a minute, started the car with no issues, and they went home in complete silence. My great-uncle Chris only told me this story once, and was pretty upset by it, but beyond this experience, states that he doesn't believe in anything supernatural. You run over a stick figure, and it turns off your car, and you just go, nah, that was probably like a deer. It was a stick figure deer who's able to phase through cars and turn off car batteries, just like they do in nature.